comfortable gray. Unmask the shadows where they play. Welcome to Suki Things with Debbie. Suki Things with Debbie.
Hi, everybody. How's everything going with you guys? Yeah, I just kind of noticed that it's a little bit fuzzy tonight. Stan's working on it. Actually, he was working on me working on it because I'm the disaster here. But Stan's been trying to get everything just right because I'm completely computer illiterate and I'm not much help. But in any case, I'm hoping everything is going okay with you guys. Things have been kind of weird over here. As you can see, my background is different. This is my office. This is my new office. And I got a lot of stuff going on here, and my equipment is going to be stored here in my office. So I can get out of my bedroom area and keep everything here in my office. It just makes it easier. So in any case, we've got an interesting show tonight. Stan, if you can still hear it, the picture is really fuzzy. It's not clear at all. Oh. If you guys, okay, there we go. Yeah, it's still fuzzy. While Stan's working on that, we're going to go into it. I'm not feeling really great tonight, so guys, kind of hang in there with me. I got an injury to my neck and my back, and it hurts really bad. So, you'll have to pardon me a bit if I'm like struggling through tonight. I'm so sorry, but we go on. So what we're going to talk about tonight is the originals. This is what started it. The Bermuda Triangle, Flight 19. This is the disappearance, vanishing of Flight 19. And it wasn't just one plane, involved. There was 4 planes actually involved in this particular incident, and all 4 planes all had multiple people inside. So there was nothing small about this occurrence that had happened. Now, I used to live right on the coastline of the Bermuda Triangle. I lived in Homestead. So every time we took off from like Black Point or wherever we were leaving from, we were in the Bermuda Triangle. I mean, it was that triangular area going from the coastline of Florida out to the Bahamas. And that's where that Bermuda Triangle is. And I remember my dad went out there one time with his boat, beautiful boat. He had the W.E.B.B, and then he also had another boat, and I forget the name of that one right off the rip. But in any case, they were both really nice, and they were research vessels. And he told me one time, he goes, "Man, Deb, strange stuff happened out there this time." He goes, the compass was just spinning. And I'm like, "Oh, you got caught in the old Bermuda Triangle, didn't you?" He goes, "Hey, that stuff's real." He goes, "I couldn't stop it. It was just going nuts." And sure enough, we were out there for Thanksgiving break one time. We were out there for like 3 or 4 days. My dad, his friend, and his monkey. Monkey was cute. But anyway, the monkey's name was Jojo, and he was always into something. I digress. But in any case, we were all out there for like 3 or 4 days, and sure enough, the compass, I saw it myself, just was spinning and spinning. And I'm like, Dad, you know how to sail by the stars? He goes, yeah. He goes, don't worry about it. He goes, we've already got the path is pretty much projected where we're going. He said, but it's weird, isn't it? I said, yeah, it is. So I have experiences myself going around and about with the Bermuda Triangle. And I can tell you right now, my experiences vary, but they're very much on par with what a lot of other people are saying that does go on out there. It happened to us. I mean, there wasn't a disaster that occurred with it. I mean, but it was weird and it was scary. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to in time. We're going to go back to where this thing first started from. And it's and this just wasn't just one incident. There's quite a few incidences on this particular situation. So let's go back. We're going to go back to December the 5th of 1945. It was 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers, and they took off from the Naval Air Station in Fort Lauderdale. And a routine navigational training flight. They weren't going to be doing anything in particular. This is a routine thing that they were doing. Done it many times with no big issue. The weather was nice. It was clear. It was a pretty nice day when they took off. 14 airmen were on board these different planes. They were supposed to fly in a neat triangular route over the Bahamas, practicing bombing, and then come right back. It's a very, very simple plan. They never returned. Okay. So I think the best thing to do is I'm going to guide you through the sequences of the takeoff, how it occurred. So you get a better idea as, you envisioning you being there. So the takeoff itself was at 2:10 in the afternoon. That's when they took off. Flight 19 departs Fort Lauderdale, and they were led by Lieutenant Charles Taylor, a very experienced combat pilot. And but the thing is that he was a very experienced combat fighter, but he was very new to the Florida topography, geology. He was new. He was new to the Florida game. He was very experienced with his plane and very experienced in what he did. But the geography of Florida, he was not familiar with. And that was very critical, I think, in a lot of what happened here. So 2:10, they take off. Then around 4:45, it was a critical error, and more than likely based upon the fact that he was not real familiar with Florida, the Bahamas, and the area surrounding it. Taylor mistakenly thinks he's flown too far south over the Florida Keys. But in reality, he was right on course over the Bahamas. But trying to fly northeast to find the mainland, he actually flew further out into the open Atlantic Ocean. Now, there's the Bahamas kind of run. You got Florida, and the Bahamas run right along Florida down into the Keys, and there you got the Cuban islands, and of course South America beyond that. Where the islands stop here, up here around South Carolina, that's where Bermuda is, and there's that area in between, and I think that's probably where he was going. He wasn't going north, but this says to go northeast. He flew in between that. He's heading out to the Atlantic. I'm my hand right in your base. He's flying right out to the Atlantic is where he's heading. So around that time, the weather's starting to get be bad. And when the weather can turn like that, the static is really bad, especially during that period of time. You know, when it wasn't so precise as it is now. The sun was setting, and the weather violently deteriorates into a storm, and weather signals begin to fade out. Students are heard arguing with Taylor, urging him to fly west. These students are from Miami. They're like, dude, you're going out to the ocean. You got to turn around and go back. If Florida's that way, not that way. So they're arguing with them. But the military discipline keeps them in formation. This period of time, you don't correct your commander. If he says you're flying this way, you're flying that way. And the same, if you guys remember a few months back, we were talking about another airplane crash, one that happened down in the Keys, or I'm sorry, in the Everglades. That particular flight changed the protocol of somebody calling the captain out. The protocol got changed during that period of time where if there is another co-captain or engineer, whatever on board, they can say, Captain, respectfully, I disagree. We need to look into doing it like this because this is wrong. And the captain at that point has to listen to what they're being said, what they're being told. During this time, this is not appropriate for anybody to contradict a commander, a captain, whatever. So military discipline keeps them in formation, even though they knew they could not change formation. The final transmission came at 7:04. The last readable radio snippet is caught through heavy static. All planes close up tight will have to ditch unless landfall. When the first plane drops below 10 gallons, we all go down together. What a thing to hear. Oh, dude, you screw up and we're all going to go down together? You know? That's ridiculous. And to even hear that now, it's like, this isn't a carnival ride, dude. You're going to get us all killed. That's exactly what happened. As crass as it is, that's what happened. He refused to listen to the other aircraft telling him in the formation, you're going the wrong way. You're going to kill us. We're heading out to the Atlantic. You got to turn around and go back. He refused, and they couldn't do anything about it. What a situation. They were never seen or heard from again. I don't know. So Lieutenant Taylor's belief that he was over the Gulf of Mexico, Florida Keys, was just a fatal illusion. He insisted on flying north and east to fix his position. He bypassed the coast entirely and ran his planes out of fuel over deep, stormy ocean waters. Okay, so this is like a twist to it. To make the night even more bizarre and haunting, oh yeah, it gets worse. The Navy immediately deployed rescue planes. One of them, which was a PBM Mariner flight boat, carried 13 crew members. They also vanished that night. This fueled the supernatural theory, but records show that the PBM was nicknamed a flying gas tank due to the fuel fumes. A nearby tanker ship reported seeing a massive mid-air explosion at the exact time and place that the rescue plane went missing. All these people got killed because one man decided, I know what I'm doing. Shut up. We're going that way. And as a result of that, all these other men died with him trying to prove a point. That's some sad stuff, guys. The TBN Avenger, just the second one, it was heavy. If it ditched in a rough, dark ocean, it would sink like a stone in seconds. The Gulf Stream, which is very, very active through there, is incredibly fast. And it's likely it would sweep away any floating debris miles away before the morning time ever hit, and they would be able to go out and check. And this just goes to prove that even seasoned pilots can completely lose their sense of direction when instruments fail. Taylor refused to switch to a rescue radio frequency because he was afraid he'd lose contact with his student pilots. Well, he didn't have to worry about that. They all went down together. So, kudos to him. He kept them together. Sorry to be bad about that, but this is something that's really disturbing to me. This was no mystery. It was a man's ego. It was a man's ego. And that's what it comes down to. It was a man's ego. We're going that way. And there is nothing in the protocol that can say, no, you're not. You're going the wrong way. We've got to go this way and make it happen. And the result was many men, not just on his team, but on the rescue team, 13 others, all died as a result of it. This is interesting. The Navy's official report listed the cause as causes of reasons unknown, out of respect for Taylor's family, which inadvertently opened the floodgates of decades of UFO and Bermuda Triangle myths. Now, I know there's some strange things going on out there. Okay, fine, we get it. I get that. But this was completely avoidable. This didn't have to happen. And, it happened. Hi, Dawn, how are you? Yes, this happened in the Bermuda Triangle, but I don't want for people, and there's a lot of things that I've talked about on the show, and I'm not afraid to call it out. I'm not afraid at all. I don't care. If it's right, it's right. And if it's not right, well, it's not right. The Bermuda Triangle has a lot of urban legend surrounding it. I think that there are, because of what I have seen there myself. I agree. There is something odd about that area. One piece of the earth that's odd compared to all the others, come on. We just don't understand a lot of it. But yes, there's all things. Spinning of the compass. I just think that there's a really high electromagnetic field there. I don't know why. That's sure being looked into now. But what's really started it all wasn't a mystery. It was an ego trip. It was an ego trip that cost people their lives unnecessarily. And it's like they're saying with the Gulf Stream, they would have all ditched. They would have gone down quick. Those waters are deep. They're deep, and in the middle of a storm like that, they didn't last long, for sure. So We're going to cover a few things in that. So here we are, December 5th, 1945. Now that you're looking at it, you know, if you didn't know before, now that you're looking at it now, what actually happened, you can kind of see yourself, you know, to kind of piece it together a little bit better. 5 United States Navy bombers, they all line up on the tarmac at Fort Lauderdale. 14 airmen, 14 airmen. Some veterans of the brutal Pacific Theater, other young trainees. Climb into their cockpits. Their mission is entirely routine. It's a basic triangular navigational flight over the sunny Bahamas and back. No big deal. 2:10. The roar of 5 massive engines filled the sky as Flight 19 lifts into the clear blue weather. It's supposed to be a 3-hour run. They had enough fuel for 5.5. No problem. They're more than capable of doing this. But just 2 hours. Crackling across the military airwaves comes a voice filled with an unsettling, anchorless panic. It's the flight leader, Lieutenant Charles Taylor. He says everything looks wrong. Even the ocean doesn't look like it should. We don't know where we are. There's a correction here. We knew where they were. He didn't know where he was because everybody else is telling him, dude, you're going the wrong way. You got to go back there. But he's saying, we don't know where we are. By nightfall, the violent storm rolls in. The radio signals deteriorate into ghosts of static. Desperate commanders scramble a massive flying boat with a crew of 13 to go and find them. Man, I'm telling you, it's just, that's the disaster here. It's just sending men out to their total deaths because one man had an ego trip. Good morning. How are you? Good morning. How are you, lady? I hope you're doing good. And of course, the rescue plane is gone. So now you've got 2. So Stan just said that he can't fix the blurry. It's on my end. I don't doubt that at all. You guys hang in there with me for just a minute. I'm going to try something. Talk about a disaster. It's coming on. I'll be like messing. That's this anyway. So anyway, by nightfall, the storm rolls in. The radio signals deteriorate into the ghosts of static. Desperate commanders scramble a massive flying boat with a crew of 13 to go find them. And then that plane vanishes. 6 aircraft, 27 men. 27 men altogether. 26 of those are like, they got nothing to do with this. They're just going down. So they're just gone in one afternoon, in one 3-hour trip. They're gone. Nobody knows where they are. Nobody knows where they went down. They're just gone. There's no trace, no oil slick, no floating debris. Gone. So, but this is all due to human error. Most definitely, this was just due to human error, you know, and hopefully, hang on just a second. I'm going to try something. No. Stan. I don't know how I did it, Stan, really. I just pushed a button. Anyway, It's better than what it was, guys. So this is the debunking of it. I guess you could say. I'm not trying to trash, anybody in these, but what just gets me, I mean, this is a long time ago. But this is the bottom line it comes down to. It's so important when the other aircraft, the commercial aircraft that we were talking about that went down, the rules were changed. And this is the important reason as to why that occurred. Um, Anybody is fallible. Anybody can make a mistake. This guy did not know the Florida coastline. And from living in Florida, except for when I grew up in Germany, but living in Florida, that's where my dad was born and raised at, was in Florida. This is really Florida's our home state, my family's home state. And the topography of Florida is very unusual. It really and truly is. And if you don't know where those islands are, and if you don't know where those ridges, and this is where that came into a problem, because this guy was so experienced and everything else. It was just, he didn't have that experience of where everything was at. So there's things that people come up with, like, oh, your insurance is going to be higher by living on the Florida Triangle, the Bermuda Triangle, because all these things happened out there. And the truth of the matter is, that's not true. Lloyd's of London is the world's most famous marine insurance market. Of course, they also insure lots of, different odd things. Yeah, there's some weird things out there. They'll insure just about anything. If you have it, they'll probably insure it. For a nominal amount, they'll insure it. And they have already said that it doesn't charge any more expensive, higher premiums for ships sailing through the Bermuda Triangle. It just, corporations, they don't care about nothing else. You pay out the money, they'll give you the insurance, and they don't charge anything extra to go out to the Bermuda Triangle. So now the traffic to accident ratio. The area that's surrounded, well, the boundaries of it is Miami, Bermuda, remember, Puerto Rico is one of the heaviest traveled shipping lanes and aviation corridors on the face of the planet. Famous Australian scientist here's a name I'm going to destroy. Okay, Carl Kruszelnicki. I'm so sorry if that's you. I'm so sorry. But in any case, noted that on a strict percentage basis, the number of accidents in the Bermuda Triangle is exactly the same as any other busy ocean corridor in the world. So if you have 100,000 cars all driving down a busy highway every day, you're going to have more accidents than there is in a dirt road out in the middle of nowhere. It's not a supernatural portal. It's just heavy traffic. I mean, that makes sense to all of us. So in 2013, the World Wildlife Fund, the WWF, remember they're the same ones that got on the wrestling. We had WWF first. Anyway, they had to give that up. Useless information I thought you should know. Anyway, they conducted a massive, exhaustive global study mapping the top 10 most dangerous bodies of water for maritime shipping. The Bermuda Triangle never reached the top 10. The most dangerous waters are actually places that's nowhere near. It's like the South China Sea. Well, I can understand that. The Mediterranean goes without saying, and the North Sea. Well, I guess we can all figure out why. So, but the Bermuda Triangle, it didn't even make near the top 10 on that. So the phrase the Bermuda Triangle didn't even exist until 1964. It was coined by an author named Vincent Gaddis in a pulp fiction magazine called Argosy. The legend was later blown out of proportion by author Charles Berlitz in the 1974 bestseller, The Bermuda Triangle. We remember that. I remember that book. Well, I'm old. I remember that book. The fun The fun fact here is that when journalists and researchers like librarian Larry Cushy actually fact checked Berlitz's claims, they found massive fabrications. Berlitz would list a ship as mysteriously vanishing in calm weather, but the official weather records for that exact day would show a Category 3 hurricane thrashing in the area. I don't know what his idea of a calm day would be. In another case, Berlitz claimed an ore carrier vanished in the triangle, but it actually sank in the Pacific, which was thousands of miles away. No go, Joe. Just didn't happen that way. So there's other things that have happened there. There are other things. These are a little bit often out there. The twin aviation ghosts. This is around the same period of time. This is 45. It's like 3 years afterwards. Okay, these are two commercial flights. It happened just years later and directly built the modern aviation myth of the triangle. And these are Star Tiger in 1948 and Star Ariel in 1949. Both of the planes were Avro Tudor 4 airliners operated by British South American Airways. In January of 1948, Star Tiger vanished with 31 people on board while flying from Azores to Bermuda. Exactly flipped a year later, in January of 1949, Star Ariel vanished with 20 people, and this is en route from Bermuda to Jamaica. In both the cases, the weather reports were relatively stable, no distress signals were even sent, and zero debris or bodies were ever recovered. Okay, so still during the same period of time, so they didn't have the technology that they do today. Still tragic. Now, let's look a little bit into these planes and kind of see maybe there's a why in there. The Avro Tudor 4 was a notoriously temperamental, newly designed aircraft with a flawed heating system. The heater was located under the floorboards near the hydraulic lines. Oh, that was good thinking. And a slow fuel leak could have caused a sudden catastrophic fire or explosion midair. Well, that would be fun. Instantly knocking out the radio. Furthermore, the Star Tiger was flying incredibly low, around 2,000 feet, to battle strong headwinds, leaving the pilot virtually zero time to react or to send a distress signal if mechanical failure occurred. So there's some pretty good circumstances that, yes, it was a tragedy what happened. But, when you get past the lore and you get into the specifics, of in reality. It's reality check here. Both of those planes had big checks on them, you know. Like I said, flying back then was dangerous as all get. I remember was flying back in the 60s. I didn't like it then. I don't like flying now though. I'm not a I no, no, oh no. Um, okay, now here's a big one. The USS Cyclops. This was in 1918. Yeah, years before any of these guys here. This one went down as the single largest loss of life in U.S. naval history outside of combat, making it a massive talking point for historical or paranormal means. So the USS Cyclops was a massive 540-foot Navy collier, which is a fuel ship. Collier, sorry, carrying over 10,000 tons of heavy manganese ore, heading for the Baltimore. It just simply never got there. No SOS call was ever sent, and despite of its gargantuan size, not a single life jacket, oil slick, or piece of wood ever floated to the surface. It just ceased to exist. Now, let's take a look at the Cyclops. The Cyclops was severely overloaded with manganese ore, which is significantly denser than the coal it was designed to carry. Compounding the issue, one of its main engines was completely broken, and it was operating on a cracked cylinder. Yeah, that's going to make a good trip. Two of its sister ships, the USS Proteus and the USS Nereus, later vanished in exactly the same region under similar heavy loads. Structural engineers later concluded that these ships suffered from severe internal hull corrosion due to their acidic cargo. The Cyclops likely hit a sudden rough Atlantic wave that snapped its weakened keel right in half, causing it to sink to the ocean floor in less than a minute. That's it's just the tragedy of that is just it's terrible. I mean, these corporations didn't care. They just send these people out on these boats. They didn't care if you made it back, if you didn't make it back. They're more worried about their cargo. And that's just the way it was back then. So in now this one's cool. Well, it's not cool, but this one is really interesting. Now we're talking about cargo, right? Cargo. Okay, so let's move on to people. The Carol A. Deering. This is in 1921, still earlier than the flights for the Bermuda Triangle. Okay. Only the people vanished in this one. The ship was still there. In January of 1921, this beautiful masted commercial schooner was found hard aground on Diamond Shoals, just off the coast of North Carolina. And that would be the northern peak of the triangle. Remember, Bermuda was included in on that. It comes out around and then made a triangle. Bermuda being included in on that. When the Coast Guard finally managed to board her, the ship was completely deserted. The crew's personal effects, the navigational equipment, the logbooks, the lifeboats were completely gone. Spookiest of it all, food was still sitting prepared on the stove, and a couple of half-starved cats were the only living souls left on board. So, so you got to think about those times. And, today's society, I'd be like, whoa, that's really weird. But think about the times. In the 1920s, things weren't quite so civilized as they are now. This wasn't a supernatural abduction. It was almost certainly a brutal mutiny or a desperate evacuation gone wrong. The ship's original captain fell ill before the voyage, and his replacement, Captain Willis Wormel, was openly despised by the crew. They hated this guy, absolutely loathed this guy. A nearby lightship keeper, lightship keeper, reported that the Deering passed by a few days prior, and a crewman who didn't look or act like the captain yelled out that they had lost their anchors. When the ship got stuck on the treacherous shoals during the storm, the mutinous crew likely panicked, piled into the lifeboats and escaped, and were promptly swallowed up by the violent, freezing Atlantic surf. What can you even say to that? I mean, I guess one thing to hate somebody, but I'm not going to throw myself into a stormy surf and leave my cat on board where there's food. No, I'm going to stay right where I am. I'm sorry. I don't know. Sometimes you just got to think to yourself, what kind of crazy asses did they put out on these boats? Anyway, so that's basically the Bermuda Triangle, guys. I really hate to burst bubbles on this because, like I said, I've been out there myself. Yeah, there's some strange things that go on out there. And, you know, there's underground or underwater roads that are still visible, underwater cities that you can still see the footprints of in the shallower waters. Remember, a lot of these were islands that have submerged in the meantime. And when you go scuba diving down there, even snorkeling, you just snorkel down there. We used to stay out there for hours and hours and hours. All you got to do is ride a couple hours out on the boat, and got a plethora of places that you can go scuba diving at, or you can go, snorkeling at, and see all kinds of really, really cool things out there. But the topography has changed so much through the many, many years. The seas swallow up islands that were inhabited at one point, and they're gone now. They're talking about the Florida Keys are going to be in trouble within the next 50 years. There might be some more exploring that we can all do down there. I hope not. I mean, that area is strikingly beautiful, and I lived there for 33 years, and I miss it. I do. I live up in North Florida now, and I miss it for remembering back when I lived there. And when I lived there, it was a really cool time to live there. Lots of people have moved from that area, but a lot of people are still there, and by George, they were born and raised there, and they're not going anywhere. I respect that. I really do. I respect that. But they're saying that they could be in trouble here within the next 50 years. We'll probably be seeing it ourselves. This is a lot, the warming trend is getting worse every year. The icebergs and the glaciers, they're melting. The poles are warming up. The North Pole for sure is warming up. And waters are getting higher and higher, and Florida's not that far above sea level. And some of these places, believe it or not, are below sea level. And it's a tidal wave waiting to happen on shore. But I love South Florida. I really do. And it would break my heart if tragedy like that would befall it. But unfortunately, the signs are there that it could very well be a problem down there. And I really hope it doesn't happen. But it changes. And as a result of the change through the years, you know, these aren't um, mystic and mysterious places. They're just places that have gone underwater and through completely natural circumstances. And, who knows, maybe in 200 or 300 years from now, islands will be back up, bigger and stronger and better than they ever were. With them sinking now, 300 years from now, we'll be back up again. Who knows? Who knows? But the Bermuda Triangle, urban legend? I think so. Urban legend based upon real life circumstances, but that are easily debunked for the most part. Um, I don't go out there yourself. There are strange things going on. I still have to say that, there's definitely a high level of electromagnetism out there. There's no doubt about that. Um, and my dad's boat wasn't the only one that was going haywire out there. I think a lot of boats experience that. But it's just because in certain areas there's something going on, there's something happening. I don't understand it. I don't know why it would be happening, but people are looking into it as to why. And I just think it's fascinating one way or another. And if for any other reason to go out to see the Bermuda Triangle, go out there for its beauty. I mean, the dolphins just surfing along with the boats as you're going out there, and the scuba diving is fantastic. It's just a beautiful, glorious place to be. So go out there for the mystery of it, but stay there for the beauty of it. But in all, just go and have fun. It makes it all worth it. So this is Debbie, and we're gonna close out our Bermuda Triangle for the night. Um, as I do at the end of all my shows, I would like to remind everybody that we do have the Deep South Paracomic-Con coming up, and that'll be taking place in August of this year, 8th and 9th, and it will be taking place at the Enterprise Civic Center in Enterprise, Alabama. This is different from the place that we had it last year, and I think it's going to be really nice. We've got a fabulous group of people that are going to be there. We have some people that are returning, and we have some new guests that are going to be here this year. Um, we have, of course, Ken Gerhardt is going to be there, a very well-renowned cryptozoologist. We have Keith H. is going to be there. Robert Mukes is going to be there. Just these three names right here, guys. You guys got to come out to see these guys. Richard and Colleen Johnson. They are so funny. I just love them. Lee Triana Terry Brown. She's been with us now. This is going to be her 5th year. And every year, people just love to come and see her. Martha Hazard Decker will be there. Then we have Blaine Rohan. Blaine is very well known around this area. James Stokes. Okay, there's a name that like some of the others I've mentioned, all you got to do is say his name, and people are like, oh, I know him. Well, of course you do. He's been in all kinds of things. And you guys have just, he's the nicest man in the world to meet. He's very cordial and he's very friendly. So I think you'd have a really nice time meeting him. We have Jeremy Leonard, the Cajun demonologist. And you will remember him for 28 Days Haunted and the Ghosts of Morgan City. He's so friendly and he's so wonderful. You're really going to have a good time meeting him. Alabama Ghostbusters of Ashford and Dothan. They're a lot of fun. They really are. Jatine, the Redneck Raja. I love Jatine. He's so much fun. Who knows what he's going to have with him? If he's going to bring an animal, it's going to be something very interesting with him. He brings hawks and stuff, and they're just gorgeous. Michael and Destiny Fox will be there, and I just love them. They're fantastic people, and very friendly, very easy to talk with. So you guys, I've given you so many options and reasons to come. You don't have an excuse. Come on. If I can make it there with this crickety old neck and this crickety old back, you can make it up there. See, there I am, Debbie Hawk Hutchinson. If I can be there, you can be there. Because let me tell you, I might be there for crushing along, but I'll be there. We're going to have gaming. We're going to have a cosplay contest. Those are always fun. I love seeing people get dressed up and what they're going to come up with. They're a lot of fun. There's going to be all kinds of different vendors there. And just come and check out the new surroundings that we have. Everything is going to be a bit different. And we're just kind of every year catering a little bit more to you guys and a little bit more. And I don't know if we'll ever stop changing it because every change makes it better, right? So hopefully we can see you guys coming soon to the Paracomic-Con. That's August the 8th and 9th again. All right, guys, we're going to leave here tonight because I'm going to tucker it out. Here it is again, Deep South Paracomic-Con, August 8th and 9th at the Enterprise Civic Center in Enterprise, Alabama. And I know we'll see you there. I'll be excited. All right, guys. You have a great week. And I will see you guys soon. And just remember the story when you're getting on the plane. I'm not getting on a plane. It ain't happening. Anyway, we'll be seeing you guys soon. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Good night from Spooky Things with Debbie!